well, it's his fault or it's her fault the marriage is broken. I want that written in my divorce decree.
Which
Well,
is funny because it should be broken, right? Isn't that the
correct.
yeah?
There is no fault. Florida is a no fault divorce
Yeah.
state. So either spouse can file for divorce in Florida for any reason at all. They don't have to cite a reason. The general pleading on the divorce petition is the marriage is irretrievably broken. When the case gets to a conclusion, whether it's by an agreement of husband and wife or by a judge entering a court order after a trial, the judge will make a general finding that the marriage is irretrievably broken. So by and large, there isn't any spouse's fault language in the divorce decrees that are coming out this day and age. People try all the time to say, oh, well, he cheated on me, or he did this, or she did that. And the only time that any kind of cheating in from my perspective comes in is two different aspects. The first would be for division of assets and debts. So the division of assets and debts in a divorce, the process is called equitable distribution. If husband and wife agree on how to divide up their stuff, it doesn't matter. The court will say, fine, whoever gets whatever, the judge will rubber stamp that. If parties cannot agree on who gets what, the house, the retirement plan, there can then be the determination by the judge as to who gets what. By and large, it's equal. It's not always equal. Equitable doesn't mean equal. And where the argument can be made by one spouse is to dissipation of assets. Money was spent of the marriage. Half my money or part of my money was spent by my wife on her lover, and they went on this vacation, and they went on this, and they went on that. So infidelity is an aspect of division of assets, but only if you can prove that there's been dissipation of marital assets.
Okay.
And if that happens, you can only go back 2 years. So if it was something that, oh, my wife bought her boyfriend a $50,000 condo 5 years ago, you're not getting that condo back. It has to happen within 2 years from the date of filing of the divorce in order to be able to get the claim for dissipation. The other way that infidelity can come into play could be in child custody issues when courts are determining parenting plans. And the parenting plan can be affected by a new partner if there are some negative factors about that person. By and large, the courts are going to recognize, even while parties are separated, going through a divorce, that everybody's going to move on with their lives, have new relationships. Those relationships can be around the children, typically with no issues, unless there's criminal history, drug issues, mental health issues, negative factors that are going to detrimentally affect the kids.
I had a couple of child support questions, or I guess child support. Can somebody escape child support? Let's say they're undocumented, or let's say they're working under the table. Can they escape paying child support altogether?
So that's a very good question. No, they cannot.
Okay.
The question of what is the appropriate income that's used for that person for child support calculation purposes is really the central issue. The courts, in order to order anyone to pay child support or someone to receive child support, they have to run a formula. The formula is going to include the parent's income, health insurance, daycare, and the parenting overnight schedule. If we don't know what the income of that person is, the payor, we have to then investigate it. It's basically then going to be, well, how is this person being paid? Okay, we know they're working, so are they driving, the truck and the landscaping company? And, they can be surveilled to find out where they're going. We can subpoena their bank accounts to figure out what's being deposited. By and large, people can try to be tricky about it and not deposit anything. Well, then we can back into income by saying, okay, well, but you pay your rent and you have a car and you have insurance.
Of course.
And if you're saying you have no income, how are you paying all these things?
Right.
So by and large, being undocumented isn't going to prevent child support from being ordered or under the table as well. It just makes it a little bit harder. And by and large, the best case scenario typically is going to be a minimum wage income. Income would be imputed to that person, which means even though you're not earning anything on the books, the court's going to calculate your child support as if you earn at least minimum wage. Or let's
Okay.
say you're a doctor working under the table.
Sure.
Or, you have some experience, qualifications, degrees, but you're underemployed.
Okay.
So the court can find that you're underemployed, that no, you have the capacity of earning X amount of dollars because you did for 5 years before coincidentally now
Individu-
you're getting
yeah,
divorced and all of a
exactly.
sudden you have no job.
Yeah. That
So
makes
there are
sense.
ways of determining income, but it can be complicated.
Can somebody choose not to do child support amongst the parties? Like, let's say husband and wife say, we're not going to do child support and not file the financial affidavit, or do they have to file the financial affidavit?
So the courts, the child support is the right of the child. So the judge in any kind of divorce or paternity case is going to be taking a look at what the child support is, whether there's any child support or not.
Sure.
And those financial affidavits, as you referenced, the statements of parties' income, assets, debts are going to be required by and large in any traditional case.
Sure.
The only exception is going to be the simplified divorce.
Okay.
And a simplified divorce is very rare. Simplified divorce requires both parties to cooperate and requires both parties to a case to come to court for their final hearing. And if there are no financial issues, then the financial affidavits can be waived. But if there are child support, if there's children involved, those financial affidavits are going to be required. Now, we can, if the parties are in agreement, we can run the child support calculations and show the court, look, this is how we determined that no money is going to change hands, so that the court will then approve that $0 exchange. Those will happen if you have two parents who earn about the same and who share about the same amount of time with the child. Because remember, you've got to run the formula.
Sure.
If you've got a parent who earns significantly more than the other parent and they have majority time sharing, they have more time with the child, well, then there's going to be some child support number. And
Sure.
the court's going to require a child support calculation to be filed in the court file. So that they can justify what that number is. And the reason for it is for future modification purposes.
Okay.
Because that couple might have been in agreement.
That day.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to pay me anything, but I can't, down the road, their circumstances change. Either
Sure.
somebody could lose their job, somebody could get injured or ill. Then they're no longer earning that income where they didn't need child support from the other parent. So they would
That
have to
makes
go
sense.
back to court and modify it. So it's a baseline that the courts require.
Sure. Okay. That's good.
And just to add with the child support, it plays a role too in the immigration setting.
How is that?
It
Yeah,
rears its ugly head every time you know. So, for example, an undocumented individual who finally meets somebody and gets in process, meaning they want to change their status. Along the way, there are all these requirements, and one of the requirements is good moral character. And that is where we see child support popping up.
Oh.
Because if you're not supporting your children financially, it says you lack good moral character, and that could make you not inadmissible, but it could lead to like either questions or a request for evidence to show how is it that you've listed 4 children on your application.
Yeah.
Where is there a child support order? If not, how are you supporting them? Even for
Makes sense.
citizens, I've had clients that are coming back into the country, and because of these exorbitant child support orders, their passports are taken. Of course, they can't be deported or removed, but their passports are seized
Okay.
until they resolve the child support matter.
Diane,
That's where it comes in.
I do have a question.